So now that we've dissected the argument and kind of labeled all of its parts, it's time to evaluate the argument, which means to kind of figure out how good of a job did the author do at presenting their argument, making their case, supporting their argument with evidence, responding to their opponent in a way that's convincing. So let's look at how we could do that. The way we do that is to answer these three questions. The first question is, how well does the author's reasons and subclaims support the main argument? The main argument, of course, we highlighted in blue. It didn't come right away. The structure this author chose was pretty interesting. They gave us 3 paragraphs before they got to their sort of what we might consider a thesis statement, which is that schools should keep recess on the schedule and teachers should not take it away. Okay? So now we're going to look for these yellow bits, which are sub-arguments and reasons that the author give that that's true. And interestingly enough, this writer started their, they started off giving reasons why their thesis was true long before they dropped their thesis. And so this gives us a nice preview of how they're going to break this down. Periods of unstructured play, okay, and social interaction, aka recess, are a crucial part of a children's cognitive, which means like brainy type stuff, thinking, cognitive, academic, which sort of goes along with cognitive, physical, meaning like activity, bodily activity, and mental wellness. Okay, so these are sort of all of the things that we would expect this author to hit on and prove in the body of this essay. So let's see what else we have for yellow. Okay, how do they approach these? The first thing we highlighted yellow after the main argument was highlighted was, in our increasingly sedentary society, and by the way, sedentary means sitting on your butt, okay? Our society tends to sit on their butts a lot more than they used to. Increasingly sedentary society, it can be a challenge to ensure that children get the recommended 60 minutes of moderate physical activity every day. Recess can help bridge that gap. So back to the first statement, this is hitting on the physical part. We're kind of approaching this physical part first. I might have expected, certainly in your writing, I might expect that you would approach these in the same order that you dropped them up here. And this writer is doing this sort of out of order for my taste. Okay. What's the next thing that they talk about as a reason or a subclaim? This plays an important role in the ability to gain self-control. Okay. So it's sort of like a social skill. Having self-control in class, meaning not like running around like a chicken with your head chopped off, that is a social skill. Okay. We know that society expects us to sit and maintain ourselves during activities of school. Okay, physical activity, we talked about social skills. Next, recess provides an opportunity to refill children's reserves of self-control through play and expression. So that's continuing on with social skills, self-control. Next, memory is enhanced by breaks. So now we're getting into cognitive skills. So far, we talked about physical activity, we talked about social skills, and now we're getting cognitive skills, thinking skills, being improved by recess. Finally, okay, for signal words like this, so it looks like this is the last thing they're going to sort of discuss. Recess helps you develop social skills such as negotiation, social dynamics, and the use of subtle verbal and nonverbal communication cues. So this is a different set of social skills than just having self-control in a controlled environment such as school or work. This is a different set of social skills, meaning being able to socialize with other peers. Okay, let's look at what else we have highlighted yellow. Students are kept in at recess, stand to lose. Okay, so these are all the things that recess can give you. More brain power, connection with peers, relationships with teachers, opportunities to learn a different behavior. What does that mean? Let's say being left out of recess doesn't help a child understand what they did wrong. Doesn't help her to learn how to make it right the next time. So basically, it doesn't work well as a punishment for taking it away. So I think that's all that we got in yellow here. So these are all reasons the subclaims support the main argument. So having read through all those, here's what I would say. The writer provides many good reasons, songs, to support the main argument that recess should not be taken away from student punishment. The reasons cover are physical benefit recess, cognitive benefits, and social benefits. Now, having said that, here's my critique. The order that the reasons are provided in, the order that the writer gives the reasons in is to me. For example, the opening sentence lays out the main reasons in a way that I would preview the rest of the essay. The body of the essay provides these reasons in a totally different order. Also, some reasons are repeated later, while some are not. It says the physical benefits. Those are only touched on once, very briefly. So that's my assessment for how well, in some cases, for how well those reasons and sub-reasons support the main argument. So I give it some thumbs up, and I also give it some healthy critique, and that's what you should do. You should look for what the writer does well and what they don't do well, and speak to both. So now let's look at number 2. How well does the evidence provided actually support the reasons in the claims? So let's look back at how many reasons and claims, all this yellow stuff, versus how much evidence is provided. So interestingly enough, we have a whole lot of evidence up front that is given right here. This whole paragraph is evidence from a Gallup poll commissioned by Robert Wood Johnson Foundation to support the opponent's position, just the idea that schools often take recess away as punishment. So we have a lot of evidence to support that, the idea that that's going on, that schools are robbing students of their valuable recess as punishment. Okay, we proved that to death. We have as much evidence as we have discussion about that. Let's look at what else is supported. We have some evidence here. Recess offers cognitive, social, emotional, physical benefits. Okay, so this is some very general evidence that's given to support basically this reason statement way up here, that all of these benefits, okay, so the author claims that these are all reasons why we shouldn't do it. And yes, down here, that's supported by the American Academy of Pediatrics, also says, yes, research offers cognitive, social, emotional, physical benefits. Okay, so those are two things that are supported here. Now, this bit right here is all about physical activity, about recess having physical benefits. No evidence to support it. Then we start talking about recess helping with self-control. And yes, we have some evidence here to support that idea, that optimal cognitive processing in a child necessitates a period of interruption after a period of concentrated instruction, the benefits, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that part is supported with evidence. Next, it says memory is supported, enhanced by breaks. No evidence to support that. Finally, research helps children develop social skills such as negotiation, social dynamics, subtle verbal and nonverbal communication cues. The next bit of evidence we have is from this Michelle Borba, an educational psychologist, so there's her credentials. And kind of this whole section is meant to come from her. So what all does she hit on? She hits on brain power, connection with peers, relationship with teachers, and then an opportunity to learn basically what they did wrong, are all benefits of recess. So we don't really get anything specific that proves the statement up here about memory. That's never really proven. It's just kind of stated. We're supposed to just believe it. And we never had anything that kind of proved about the physical activity. So again, here's a critique of this. So I'm going to say, oops, the good part. Evidence provided seems to come from good sources. such as an educational psychologist. Oops. Terrible typer. Educational psychologist. So we have a good source, okay? However, the evidence sometimes feels disconnected from the statements it is meant to support. Statements are never given evidence, such as the physical benefits of recess and recess improving memory. However, here's another good thing. Evidence that is provided is specifically proving these subclaims and reasons. So it is relevant evidence, relevant to the claim. So remember, when you were evaluating your own sources first semester, and you're going to be looking at that again to kind of recheck your work there, you were meant to discuss how well and evaluate how well the evidence that you were providing relates to the statements that you were trying to prove. So you had reasons stated right there in your thesis, and that's how you organized your research. You're trying to find evidence that directly proves each of the reasons that you gave that your thesis claim was true. So that's kind of what I mean here. When they did give evidence in this article, it did specifically prove what it was meant to prove. But some statements, as I said, were never given evidence. The writer of this essay just kind of stated a couple things and expected us to take them at those statements at face value, which isn't fair. Okay, we can't be expected to do that. Everything must be proven, right? But when they do use good sources and they tell us the credentials right there before they drop their evidence. So they would say this evidence is coming from an educational psychologist. So they are making sure that we know that they're using credible evidence. That's a very, very good thing. All right, last but not least, we need to discuss how the authors discusses and disproves our opponent's perspective. So there wasn't a whole lot here, but wherever there's purple, that's where they're kind of talking about their opponent. And really, the writer here, Jessica Lahey, discusses their opponent in this way by just talking about the fact that many teachers and administrators take recess away from students as a punishment. And then, of course, they overcome that by saying, basically, everything they're trying to prove here in this essay, why we should not be doing that, right? So there's just a couple of statements here. Cutting recess time or taking it away is counterintuitive, self-defeating. So even when they talk about their opponent's position, which is that, well, that's an easy punishment, they're talking about it in a way that assumes it's negative. This is bad practice. They never say, well, you could take it away. Okay, they're very negative about that, which is good. I mean, you don't want to give your opponent a winning argument. You want to be proving why your opponent's wrong. And so the language that they use when they're discussing their opponent, I think, is appropriate here. Even here, despite overwhelming evidence that recess is good for you, schools continue to take it away. That's how they discuss it. And they spend the entire essay disproving their opponent. So let's talk about that here. So the writer discusses many teachers and administrators take away recess as an easy punishment. Be careful to always make it clear it's bad practice. The entire essay disproves the opponent's perspective by carefully laying out the irreplaceable, we'll say, benefits of recess. All right, so when you get to this part, when you are practicing and certainly when you are doing your assessment, this is how you would do this. So be looking at how you can explain. Obviously you can see I put this in all caps on all of these. I'm not just wanting you to say they do a good job supporting the main argument. They do a good job giving evidence. They do a bad job discussing their opponent's perspective. On all of these, you need to explain why, and it needs to be specific to the essay that you're evaluating. Even if you have nothing to critique, you think they did a great job, okay, but you're just going to have to explain why exactly. You're going to have to put your finger on and put in writing why they did such a good job or why they did such a poor job. Or, as in the case of this essay, in my opinion, they did some things well and some things not so well. So that's sort of the task at hand here. So if it helps you, the color code, like your practice and your assessment in the directions, just like you color code the rest of the essays, you can go back and just look at the yellow parts and see how the orange parts support yellow parts, for example. Please do that if that helps you.